Happening, everyone? I'm extra excited today. Today we have on the show Dev Huey. If you don't know Dev Huey, he is the author of hexmodel.com, a lot of other cool stuff in the ecosystem, a lot of stats. He was, for a while, I knew him as the guy who tweets all the WAATSA updates when people are burning them, but they stopped burning them. I don't know why they would stop burning WAATSAs. Like they're still worth Icosa, aren't they? But yeah, I had Dev Huey on with GIF a while back. That was a great stream, and we went over the Hedron ecosystem. And now, so Dev Huey's background is like data analytics and all that stuff. That's why HEX model, beautiful, very, very clean website that's got a lot of stats and a lot of ways to sort data, and just some really good information for users and people who are in the ecosystem to have all the data possible available. A lot of good sites out there. Look into Hedron, look into HEX. There's HEX Daily Stats. There's all these great websites, and hexmodel.com is the one that Huey built, and we love to use around the community as well. I'm gonna say hi to the chat. We're gonna get into it. It's gonna be I'm feeling it's gonna be a great stream. We've been game planning in the green room for a little bit, and got some fun content to share with you. Huey's got some slides. Should be fun. Red Squirrel, oi, what's happening, man? Jack says Huey fan base here. Boom. There should be a Huey fan base. Huey's produced a lot of good stuff. So I do believe, I would believe it if he had a whole fan base and people just cheering him on every time he tweets or makes an update to the website. Crypto Games Club, good to see you, man. Good to see you. All right, everyone, without further ado, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your Telegram people, tell people on Twitter, tweet the stream if you like, or don't do any of that. Doesn't really matter to me. However, if you want people to see this stream, you can tell them about it if you like. Otherwise, we're going to keep going no matter what. Dev Huey, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Max. Good to join you. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I got one more guest here. We got Burbear. I didn't hear anyone say Burbear. That's a trigger word, but I thought I'd just introduce him here because you're Dev Huey, and I feel like Burbear is good to meet you, Dev Huey. Burbear.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's the bear market, but we still get to buy Burberry every once in a while. And I'm a little late to the game, and maybe a couple years late, but I was like, finally, I'll get me a shirt and I'll grab this bear too. Pretty cute bear.
Doing some outrage marketing.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Richard, he's humble now, right? I guess. Yeah. So we got to pick up the slack as far as the luxury goods go.
Yeah.
PulseX ideas got it. I knew I was like, I hope somebody gets this reference. I was trying to like tell your friends. Tell your family, and Paul's like in his mind, he's playing the meme song. What was it? They're coming in your what is it? You know what I'm talking about, Dev Huey? They're climbing in your windows, trying to snatch people, trying to snatch it up, something like that. Anyways, no. It's this meme. Some chat, help me out with this. Give me some lyrics in the meme for the guy singing the song. I forget his name, but back a few years ago, very, very popular, very funny reference. What's up, Kaisa? Ooh, I have some clips today. You never know. We were creating some good content, Huey. You never know if Kaisa's going to feel like pressing that clip button and getting us on Twitter, saying some smart people stuff. We certainly hope so. Double down on 11. What has happened to my WAATSA NFTs? We're going to cover that. We're going to tell you exactly what's happening to WAATSA in general, which may be applicable to your NFTs. I was going to give one away today, but I just didn't have time I needed to look at my wallet. Look at my giveaway wallet and figure it out, and then come up with trivia. I just didn't have time today. So at some point, I'll be giving a WAATSA away. Before, when I was giving WAATSA away, people were like, what, do you think they're worthless or something? I remember getting a comment like that. And I'm like, no, I think they're worth a lot. That's why I would like other people to have them. And now that comment is kind of funny because nobody, I don't know, I guess who's going to tell us how many people are burning them because they're at least in dollar terms, they seem to be worth a little bit less than they used to be. Antoine Dobson, yes, that's the guy. Shout out to Antoine Dobson. Hope you're doing well, Antoine. Funny song. Too many streams at one time? Yeah, I don't know who else streaming. I used to use. I need to start using PulseTube more. I love the website. I need to get on there more and check the times. But I just been gunslinging lately as far as that goes. So like, you know what? I feel like streaming right now. I've been doing a lot of solo streams, but then I got a lot more guest streams coming up this week. Next week, I'm trying to book some more, so maybe I'll start looking more so there's not as much overlap because I want to make sure people can see live, ask questions, get as much content, get as much value as they can out of it. But nothing else. Replay gang, we always got that. Burn them all, but mine. Yep, there you go. I'm same page, man. Same page. Happy to say I cannot confirm or deny, but I may have never burned a single WAATSA. Don't have any plans to do that anytime soon. Cannot confirm or deny. Crypto Sloth's in the house. That's why we're moving forward now. We've said hi to the chat. It has been complete. Now that we get a yo from Sloth, he's only 6 minutes, 16 seconds late. Congratulations, Sloth. You are very unusually around today. Appreciate it. Dev Huey, I've went on enough. Last night, let's talk about the last 90 days of PulseChain. What aren't we glad it launched? First of all, everyone, again, be grateful, right? Be grateful to even launch. But what have you been working on, and what have you been up to? What have you seen that's been just crazy good, crazy bad throughout the ecosystem in the last 3 or 4 months?
Yeah, so last time I was on the stream, it was the exact same day as we got testnet V4, and then we had the mainnet, I think, a couple of weeks or days later, and it's just been so much action, so many things happening since. I'm just trying to remember all of the things. So initially, I was looking at the PulseX yield farming, incentive token farming, and that was interesting because you'd see the new ones pop up, and you have this insane yield, and then it's like, do you swap your coins around to get into this new yield farm, or is it worth it? And then, do you go into one wrap Bitcoin or wrap Ethereum, or Ethereum from ETH from Ethereum, wrap Bitcoin from Ethereum? And just watching the fluctuation of the APRs and APYs as the pools grow, and trying to work out a good strategy for that. So that's I spent a lot of my time looking at that. And then we had the V1, V2 drama as well, where I was kind of looking at my PulseX PulseChain farm and trying to work out, because I'm kind of new to yield farming, and kind of working out, are my coins growing? Are they staying the same? And doing the curve calculation, I think is Y equals M times X. And then somebody pointed out that we're getting incentive fees. We're getting incentive tokens, but we weren't getting the fees, which we now get on version 2. Which it's a feature, not a bug, depending on your outlook. Hey, so then it's
burn and earn, baby, burn and earn. V1 versus V2, burn and earn.
Yes, that's been interesting. And then some other new projects launching, some new the new wallets, the new dexes. I won't go into name them because I'll forget some of the main ones. But yeah, some cool projects coming out as well. Have come out already, and new ones going to come out. And then we have it was interesting price action where we had the initial pump, and then we kind of settled back down, and then, which is kind of what I expected, to go 3x or even more up, and then come back down to sacrifice rate, which did happen. And we have had the SEC FUD since, which has brought prices down a bit. But yeah, interesting watching the kind of the liquidity bonding, where like HEX and PHEX and PulseChain and PulseX incentive token are all kind of moving in parallel now, or in correlation. And I know Alex from Hedron gave some discussion on this when he was on, I think it was Sloth Stream. And also Dipcatcher has also made some comments on Twitter about this, some interesting analysis. So it's kind of an interesting debate now about how EX used to be tied to the USDC pair, and whereas now we're kind of tied to the PLS. And is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? And is that going to last into the future? So that's been an interesting thing happening in the last 90 days.
I was actually thinking about that a couple hours ago. Literally, I was like, I want to ask Axis this. I can ask you too. Yeah, that ETH, or one of our primary pairs was HEX ETH, go up and down together, that sort of thing, liquidity bonding, all that stuff. Now it's HEX PLS. I think that's most liquidity. So who was saying the other day that, like, was it Alex on the stream too? Maybe he's the one that said it. It's like when HEX goes down, or PLS, or one of them goes down 20%, it's like the other one goes down 40%, but that's just the dollar value. If you look at it in the coin value, it's only down like 20%, that sort of analogy. How has that changed things in your mind when you look at these, when you look at the polls and stuff?
Yeah, so I think it was Alex's point that the HEX price can now go up or down without anybody buying or selling HEX because it's tied to the PulseChain pair mainly on PX is tied to PulseChain. So people are trading PulseChain up or down, then the PX is moving with it, and that's kind of interesting because they're kind of they're moving together. So it makes it easier if you've got new capital you want to deploy. Which one should I buy, PX or PulseChain? Right now, I think it doesn't really matter because they're moving in parallel. So I'm happy to go with either one, PulseChain, PulseX, or PX, because they're moving in kind of unison with the liquidity bonding. So it'll be interesting to see if that continues or not into the future. So one thing is I'm curious to look at in future is to get into the HEX transactions and just see, are there people that are pushing the price up and down independently by trading HEX, or is it really tied? What percentage of it is tied to PulseChain and what percentage of it is individual HEX trades?
Yeah, that is fascinating. All the different facets into the ecosystem of it's so buy and sell is one thing, but the liquidity bonding and now the different pairs. Does it make things? I don't know. We talked about it before too, like V2. There's a lot of different dynamics with it. That's supposedly a lot of people think it's better for the first at least year or two, the initial starts of the new coins and trading and stuff on PulseX, for example, using Uniswap V2 versus later on maybe V3, more stability, less volatility, that type of thing. But now we're putting the different ways the price can go up and down is not even just if people buying or selling HEX. Like, how does that? Do you factor that into some of your models? Are there ways to? Have you had trouble? Or do you feel like some of the things can be more accurate because they're not consuming the full picture of like the market dynamics? Or like how do you think about that?
Yeah, so I'm really curious to kind of dig into the the PulseX liquidity and even Uniswap, just to get a better understanding of that and how it affects the movements up or down. Because I remember, like in the past, pre-PulseChain, people used to always be looking at the future supply of HEX, saying, there's a lot of supply coming out in this month or next month, and maybe the price will go down when all this supply comes on the market. But I haven't heard any discussion about that recently, because I guess it's not relevant now because of the liquidity bonding, and maybe we're used to like what the stream of stakes ending, and maybe people are going to restake most of their supply anyways because prices are down. So people are not as afraid of stakes ending as they were in the past.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Yeah, it was like, the chart of future market supply was the thing, especially I think a lot of people paid attention to, try not to set their stakes on that time, or looking at those days when a lot of them are coming out, unless they were Godwell, which hasn't. He may have sacked some stuff, but I still don't think he sold anything. Try not to come out on those days when people have a lot of stakes coming out. But now, like you said, maybe it doesn't matter as much, especially when prices are so depressed that, why the question begs the question, why would you sell right now for a lot of the whales, especially if they're trying to make the multiples that we've seen before, at least. Very interesting.
Yeah. One thing I'm keeping an eye on as well is the EX-PX ratio. So it seems to have stabilized around 1 to 2 or 2 to 1. So that's interesting that it's kind of close, but not 1 to 1. And I think will be interesting to see if we see that getting closer or further apart in future. When the bear market ends and then the pump is on, do they pump together? Does one pump? That would be really exciting to watch that.
I think that's what I've been looking at too, is just when we have all these coins, everyone told me talks about how it's like maybe people are even playing this, looking at all the richer heart coins together as this one big, total market cap, that sort of thing, because maybe they believe they're going up and down together because all the liquidity bonding, almost treating them as like one coin, but all the things combined. At least it's the way some people look at it. So it's funny to think about. People ask, should you buy PLS, PLSX, HEX, or whatever, EHEX, PX, whatever. And then in that way, if you think they're all going to survive, you think they're all going to be around it, you think they're a liquidity bond and they're going to go up and down together. When they do go up, I mean, does it I guess it matters less than it used to, or matters less in this kind of ecosystem. Like which one you even buy, even if the tokenomics are different. How do you think about that?
I think what gets really interesting is if there's incentive. For example, we might get into it later, to buy Hedron, then you can, that when you start hitting the arbitrage points of Hedron and Icosa with HEX, then if you hit the arbitrage point on one chain but not on the other, I think there's going to be some interesting dynamics there. And sorry, what was your other question about?
Just thinking about just the way that if people are looking at the one ecosystem almost being like one token, like does it matter even the tokenomics that's buy and burn versus inflationary, deflationary, HEX being way oversold? Like, do you think the kind of multiples are kind of going to go up together as far as multiples go? Do you think some will go higher than another, or you just, when people are asking which coin should I buy, is it kind of like, well, 2 scoops ice cream, 3 scoops ice cream type of thing?
Yeah, right now, and I think for the next few months, it's like pick whichever one you like. I think they're all moving together, and I expect, I guess that will continue, and then we'll kind of see maybe a slow divergence as people's favorites become more apparent. But yeah, who knows? It's very exciting to see what the game theory and what the market will decide.
Definitely. Question from Sing One: why all market going down, Max? Well, I don't know if I have this kind of answers. It's not this kind of show. We certainly don't give predictions, or I don't have a financial background at all, so I'm not going to talk about the actual direct question you ask. However, I will say that the RH ecosystem having a $1 trillion market cap altogether, all the coins one day, wouldn't that be cool? And then maybe your question would be like, why all market going up, Max? And I'll be like, cause hashtag thank you, Richard Hart. See how I turned that one around? Anyways, good question. I don't know if you were serious about it or not. The all caps kind of made me question it, but welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. I'll get the question in the chat in just a minute. I just wanted to hit that one real quick. Actually, and tell me if you have some stats on this, and we can get into it when you get into the slides. But Wonderful's asking about huge, there's a lot of slippage going on. It sounds like he's saying with ETH on Hedron. Have you noticed there not being thin liquidity there, or something going on where there is slippage? There's some truth to that?
Yeah, one thing I'm kind of thinking is that maybe people have moved away from Ethereum and they're more active because the fees are a lot less on PulseChain. So people are so busy managing their portfolio on PulseChain, maybe they're less interested on the Ethereum side, and then maybe some liquidity has been pulled on the Ethereum side, and it'll take a while to build that back up again. So I think the good thing about this is that if there's an incentive to buy Hedron, then it's going to move up fast, and same with Icosa as well. So it's when it's going down, it goes down. You're slipping down. When it's going up, it's slipping up. So it could be a good thing in the future to have thin liquidity.
Yeah, just in the Hedron now even on PulseChain, we got PHUX, we got PulseX, the liquidity providing portion versus staking. Maybe we'll get into a little bit later when we talk about Hedron V2. But I'm curious to talk about the differences in people's options of providing liquidity, getting paid fees versus staking, and how one is going to be incentivized more than the other when we have V2 Hedron or whatever. I guess Icosa Hedron instead of Icosa Hedron. We have the Icosa Hedron contract come out later on. We'll get to that in a little bit. I'm curious to see the incentives and how they're going to be realigned, if at all.
Also, I think unless you're a whale on the Ethereum side, then the fees to provide liquidity is kind of a blocker for new people to come in and provide liquidity or even move their liquidity. So until we see HEX and Hedron's price increase, that becomes more easier to manage your liquidity portfolio, we might see more liquidity provided then.
Yeah, and knock on wood, Uniswap isn't like, hey, these all derivatives of HEX, we don't like those either. Unacceptable asset or unavailable asset. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Uniswap, don't listen to this. Don't. All the people's like, Hedron is HEX. Maximus is HEX. It's just a different bonded version of it. yeah, that's all the gatekeeping too, man. Well, yeah, real quick before we go into your slides, what do you think about the gatekeeping, and how do you think we, me and Saul talked about this the other day with PulseChain. Having PulseChain launched gave us a place that we can't be gatekept because we have our own network now, at least on the PulseChain side. But on the Ethereum side, man, I just can't believe some of these places would be doing stuff like that. Is it going to be less censored in the future, or is that where we're headed?
Yeah, it's really surprising that they delisted it from Uniswap, but luckily, we've got multiple front ends. Alex has got one, uniswap.hedron.pro, I think, and there's some other ones as well, ethex.com. So I think most Hexicans and Hedronians are aware of all these different front ends. So it's not Bigfoot in the community, but maybe it makes it harder for to onboard new people. If they can't find it on Uniswap, then they're not going to buy it on Ethereum. So yeah, hopefully the SEC FUD blows over and Uniswap reverse that decision, because it's kind of good for onboarding new people that you're available on the front end of Uniswap.
Well, the annoying thing to me is it's not, they did it out of an allegation. They didn't even do it because the case was settled and fines were paid and liability was accepted or whatever. It was just an allegation. It's like somebody just wrote it was coming from the SEC and all this stuff, but it wasn't like this. It was just news. There was nothing that came from it, and then they did it. That's what was like. Are you serious? You're not going to let people trade coins as they want to trade? Almost reminds me of was it Gemini, when they sent letters to people holding HEX, and they're like, yeah, you should find another exchange. It said something like that, right? They were like, we don't want to have you as a customer if you're holding HEX. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, what is this? I guess less surprising from a centralized place, but from Uniswap, that was crazy.
Yeah, because one thing I hope from the as an outcome of this SEC case and FUD is that the rest of the crypto community kind of rally around HEX, because if you come after one crypto, then maybe you're coming after all cryptos. So I think it's good that all communities kind of stick together, and you'd hope that the other communities would kind of support HEX, against the SEC. So Uniswap have gone the other way, so that's disappointing. But maybe there are other ones will support HEX and crypto in general.
I hope so. I hope this is a rallying call. I hope this is a wake up call for DeFi and people who want to fight for it, because same thing with every other right. In America, we have a lot of rights too, with guns and all this different stuff. And it's like, if nobody fights back against people trying to take things away that you like, no matter what they are, if you don't fight back against it, it's much easier to take it away. So if people aren't standing up and fighting for what they believe in, if they believe in true DeFi and trustlessness and not censorship, and they see a lot of the products that they used to love and depend on for a lot of things and start going the way of censorship, if you're not talking about it, or if you're not, you're not expecting anyone to like go and force change when they're not in a position of power, they're not in a position to do these things, but at least not go along with it is like one of the things you can do too. And at least, show them that you care enough about keeping these types of, they're not quite rights, but these types of values in the ecosystem. That's what I hope we're doing as Hexicans as well.
Yeah, it reminds me of that quote. First they came for the socialists, and I wasn't a socialist, so I didn't speak up. So it's first they came for the Hexicans. I wasn't Hexican, so I didn't say anything. So I think that's a good quote for everybody to stick together.
That's a great one. Yep. Just because they're not coming for your coin yet doesn't mean they won't. And by that time, you all the stuff you could have done by that time or could have supported might be too late. But it's not gonna be too late, because we're gonna get through this. It's gonna be good. By the way, boom, Hedron shirt. Finally get to wear it. Haven't worn it for a while, so we haven't did a stream, but finally got to show that today. Dev Huey, you may slide anytime.
Will I start sharing my screen and jump into it?
Yeah. As soon as you start sharing, I'll add it to the stream. Here we go.
Okay, so I'm only on one screen, so you can tell me when we're ready to go.
Ready to go. I see Icosa, Hedron, RHMax. Appreciate
Excellent.
the shout out there.
So last minute slides. Not financial advice, and some of this I haven't checked all the data and the results yet, but it kind of gives us an idea, anyways, at least. And if there's any mistakes, then there could be some people in the chat, eagle-eyed people in the chat, can point it out, and we can correct it as we go. Yeah. So the first topic is staking. So I've taken some screenshots from hexmodel.com. So this is from the Icosa staking page. So just one thing to mention is the dashboards on hexmodel.com. They work if the traffic is low. So, but then if a lot of people log on, things slow down and they don't work very well. So hope to release a better version in the next couple of days or weeks, so that you can search for your individual addresses and see the stats a lot better. So the first topic is just seeded liquidity. So we are now, I think it's day 366 of Icosa contract. So happy birthday, Icosa and WAATSA. The launch was 15th of August last year. So part of the yield for Icosa, WAATSA, and Hedron stakers was the seeded liquidity. So 3.5 trillion Hedron was burned around 14th, 15th of August. And what this meant was that there was this 41,000 Icosa was sent to each of the three staking pools, Hedron staking, Icosa staking, and WAATSA, every day to the pool. And depending on your percentage of the pool, you received that daily. So that was for 360 days. So we can kind of see there's this seed liquidity is kind of, putting it in a base here on the yield, daily yield graph for Icosa. And we had some days which, this is because of the Hedron burning and other functions in the contract, but we can see the first 360 days, there was this kind of seeded liquidity. So this 3.5 trillion has expired now. So then on the 12th of November, when the auction started, there was another three quarters of a trillion or 750 billion Hedron was burnt. And I think this was around the time we realized that there was no bonuses for staking. May or not be connected, but there was some Hedron was burnt by one of the Hedron contracts. And this kind of topped up the 41,500 Icosa with another 8,300. And then that brought the total, minimum daily yield to each pool of, about 50,000. So this is just a snapshot of the yield graph again from day 290 up to 360. And we see the baseline is around 50,000. So what this graph is showing as well is that after day 360, the 41,000 had finished being deployed. And now we're just in a new era where there's just going to be 8,000 Icosa sent to the pools, plus whatever other yield is generated by the other functions. But for the next 90 days or so, there will be just 8,000 sent to the pools. And then after 90 days, roughly, there will be no seeded liquidity, and it'll just be the yield from the different functions, the auctions, the Hedron burning, things like that.
Real quick question from the chat too. Is this on the Ethereum or PulseChain that we're looking at these charts?
Yeah, so this one is the Ethereum yield. So the up until day, so this is the current day 366. So if we go back 90 days to 270, yeah. So this is all Ethereum. Hope to launch the PulseChain charts in the next few weeks as well. So that'll be interesting to see the differences between Ethereum and PulseChain. So this seed liquidity is on both chains. So this one's just showing that that we've kind of the step function down of yield. So what that means then is we'll get to later about the auctions, but less yield means less inflation and less supply on the market, which could be a good thing for Icosa in general.
Yeah, so seeded for the first 360 days. And then so less yield now, less inflation. Okay, so yeah, I know we always talked about before you get in the first year or so, you can get a lot more yield, and then after that, as taper out. Are we talking how big a reduction? Do we know how big a reduction it is? Like, is it like 50%, or how much less yield are we getting now?
So this is the last 90 days. So we have some auctions on some of these days, and we have the seed liquidity, and then seed liquidity is reducing a lot. So and then we'll get to it later, but the auctions are also becoming less. So a lot less yield going to. So people will see their staking yield being a lot less. But I think that's kind of a good thing overall for the price to increase.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so second thing, we just did some analysis on the staking addresses. So Icosa staking on Ethereum. So 15,000. Sorry, there's some timer on the slide. So yeah, there's 15,000 currently have an active stake, and then active and inactive. So 20,000 addresses have interacted with the staking contract overall on Ethereum, and then we've similar numbers for Hedron, 11,000 active and about 19,000 active and inactive. So this is kind of interesting that there's a big reduction of so there's a lot of addresses which are inactive on Hedron, and one reason for that might be that people were staking originally, and then they've now used that Hedron on the HSI auction, so they've used and burnt that Hedron. So that could be one reason why we see this number of inactive addresses on Ethereum on Hedron staking, because the number is less on Icosa staking. And then if we look at the numbers on PulseChain, so there's 18,000 staking addresses active on Icosa staking and 12,000 on Hedron staking. So about 2,500 increase of new addresses on PulseChain, and about 1,300 for Hedron staking on PulseChain. So I think this is a good sign that there's at least new addresses or wallets are staking more Hedron and more Icosa. Because if you like 90 days ago, we've had a direct copy of the staking from Ethereum to PulseChain, and since then, we've had this increase of addresses. So maybe that's because the fees are less and people are moving into more wallets and spreading their staking into different wallets to take advantage of the minimum day staking, or maybe it's new wallets. Need to not analyze that deeper, but it's good that the number is more on PulseChain. It seems to be increasing.
Yeah, it could be some new users being onboarded on PulseChain and using that rather than Ethereum right now, or it could just be a lot of people saying, "Hey, cheaper fees. Let's if we're doing different strategies for day-based strategies, which sounds like it's going away with V2, or at least changing. But putting in different wallets and using PulseChain for that. Very cool.
Yeah, maybe just people are less active on Ethereum because the fees are high and then the prices are down. So it becomes more difficult to make a profitable transaction. So that could be one reason that we see more growth on PulseChain than on Ethereum. Yeah, that's the total number of addresses. So be interesting to look back. Maybe we do another stream in 6 months or a year and look back and see what the changes are.
Definitely.
So this is from the Icosa page on HEX model as well. So we see the stats for all the different staking leagues and the minimum stake lengths. So we class the sea animal by the minimum stake length. So we see there's 4 whales on Hedron staking. We see 300 on Icosa staking. So these Hedron figures have been released. So first of all, this is the Ethereum stats. Hope to get PulseChain ones soon as well, but I think they're similar. So the Hedron values have been relatively stable. The Ethereum supply has been slowly increasing. So we see the liquid supply is almost 11 million. and we have 60 million staked, and high percentage is staked. So you can make a 90-day stake for 110 Icosa, and you can now do a 30-day stake for less than 110. If you look at the next page, so at least on Ethereum, there's very few people are staking less than 100 Icosa, which is not surprising. Maybe this will be interesting to see this graph for PulseChain. And then we see the spread of staked supply among the different leagues.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is kind of important for so it depends how long they're staked, of course, but it kind of gives you an idea of when the supply may or may not hit the market. So there's like 25 million Icosa staked for 260 days. So most of it's staked for a long time, whereas Hedron is kind of, you have a lot of 30-day stakes, and then 90, 180, 270, 360.
Do you have any weighting, or do you ever think about this too, of kind of profiling and weighting the probabilities of stuff going on the market based on their position as a whale versus shark versus dolphin? Like maybe whales dump less usually. I don't know. There's a lot of HEX whales dumping lately, but I think there's so many HEX whales, maybe even that number skewed. But do you ever apply like weighting based on certain assumptions you're making about the status of the wallets as well?
So I don't have weighting, but it's now we're beginning to see it's getting interesting, because a lot of the whales have passed their 360 days minimum stake, and I don't have a screenshot of it, but if you on hexmodel.com, you can go to the Icosa staking page, and it shows at least the top 100 wallets, and you can see that some of the whales have now done their 360 days, and they're not in staking, they're just letting it run, and that could be because of maybe tax reasons, or they don't want to mint the new coins yet for other reasons. And then you can see some of the sharks and whales have renewed their stake and restaked, and they're now counting down again. So we're beginning to see that behavior and we can see it on the staking page. So I don't have a screenshot of it, but we can look at it after the slideshow. So this is just looking then at the future supply of Icosa staking, and this is the Icosa yield. So this is with 0 days remaining, we see there's 12 million Icosa, which could be ended. But this is the whales and the sharks who are not touching it and just letting it run. So it'll be interesting to see. This number will probably increase. As we move along the days, more and more stakes will come to their minimum length, and they won't be end staked. And then other ones, of course, will be in staked, and then they'll be put into the future. So we see like this one, see some spikes here of like big stakes, which are going to become due, 319, 320 days in the future. So this is just showing the potential future supply of Icosa if everybody in staked and didn't restake. So there's 45 million yield currently in the contract, which in stakes that are either could be ended or can be ended in future. And just to take out the spike at day 0, you kind of see the kind of other values a lot clearer when we remove the first one. So yeah, I think we can look at the individual wallet behavior. Are the whales and sharks compounding, or are they letting the stakes run? And similar graph for Hedron. We have 1 trillion Hedron in total. So yeah, a lot Hedron with 0 days, and we see some more Hedron then for each of the other days. So the first 360 days of the staking contract, we saw those big spikes after 90 days. Then the 90-day stakers could end their stake. We saw a big increase in the stake points. Then 180 days, we saw another big increase, and 270 we saw an increase as well. So now we've gone past the 360 days. So the curve will kind of flatten out as a kind of I think a steady increase for Icosa, slowly increasing, and then for Hedron, seems to have leveled off. So it's kind of, we'll have more stakes coming out on every day, a smaller amount every day, as opposed to a lot coming out on one day. So that would be, yeah.
I was going to ask too, like, because you said a lot of people or a lot of the whales are keeping them in and not at least minting them right now. Do we have stats on the ones that have ended, or are people selling those?
So I've
selling versus like keeping it in there, I guess.
So I haven't looked at the analysis of that yet, because we're just kind of 6 days into the end of the whale stakes. But yeah, it could be interesting to see if they're selling or restaking. So hopefully this page loads quickly, and then we can look at the. Yeah, so you can see here on Icosa staking. So we see there's for example, this third one here, they have staked 1 million Icosa, and they have like 2.5 million yield, and they're 6 days over their minimum term, and they haven't ended. So this 2.5 million is part of that 12 million that I showed. And then we can see some I've staked like 13 days ago, or on the Hedron staking as well. We see so we see some of these that have 0 days remaining, so these can in-stake, but they're not. And then see there's, for example, some people then have started new stakes. So that will be interesting to watch if there's the bigger wallets are not in staking or restaking, or if there's potential supply on the market.
Yeah, so looking at all the ones who have, so you basically just sort by minimum days remaining, look at all the ones that have 0, and then and then that's how many you would know that the stakes have ended, but they haven't took them out yet, haven't minted them yet.
Yeah, so you can use this filter as well to filter down on ones which are coming on the ending soon. So the people who are pro price will say less supply is good for the price to go up, and then the other side is that, well, the staking yield is going down, so maybe people don't want to stake anymore, and they just end their stake and they don't restake, and they want to sell it on the market. So you kind of the positive and the negatives there. So it'll be interesting to see.
Definitely. And
so this is so it's kind of a bit hard to see, but we have the spike at 90 days. We had the kind of another spike at 180 days. And now I think we're going into like a more of a flat line going up without these kind of spikes on Icosa. And for Hedron, we kind of flatlined a couple of months ago, and we had one big stake here, and then so people are restaking, but they're getting less stake points when they restake. So we're seeing this stake points going down, even though the amount of Hedron staked is the same.
Interesting.
So yeah, so this chart, it's a bit slow if there's a lot of traffic. So hope to replace this better so that it's easier to, filter and sort all of these staking stats, because it could be interesting to look at in future to see if, when the big stakes are coming out and what is the behavior.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's so then the other part of the puzzle of Icosa Hedron ecosystem is the HSI auctions, of course. So this is on the Ethereum side, so it's very similar on the PulseChain side. So we see there's this kind of big spike of auctions back here. These are all like really tiny auctions that nobody started yet because fees on Ethereum are high. When PulseChain launched, I think somebody had a bot that started all these at the same time before the front end was available. So somebody got some good deals on all of these small HSI auctions, HSI stakes. So the currently on Ethereum, there's 1,100 HSIs left, 860 T shares, which is about 6.5 million staked HEX. So you can see the Hedron bonus ones are reducing as well. So we can zoom in on the future ones. So I think it's good to point out that if anybody's looking for cheap T shares, get your Hedron and participate in the auctions. So this is showing you all the upcoming ones that might be of interest on Ethereum and on PulseChain as well, because these, of course, were created like 90 days ago, so they would be created on PulseChain as well. So 55 kind of big ones in the future, 276 T shares, and some with the Hedron bonus. So this is just the table filtered by descending stake T shares. So we see from 32 down to 4 T shares. And then the ones with the Hedron bonus might be your last chance to get a HSI auction with the 10x Hedron bonus, some with 8 and some with 3. So there's 12 HSIs left and 32 T shares in total. So this is, I just selected my day range here for the future ones. Well, this one's in the past as well. So there's one that was forgotten about. And then just filter out the no bonus, and you can see these ones with the Hedron bonus attached.
Nice. Yeah, a few 10x's left out there.
Yes. So I think this chart is interesting. So we see a lot less HSI auctions than in the past. So again, less inflation. So interesting to see if we get back to the arbitrage point of Icosa and people start selling their HSIs back to the contract. It'll be interesting to see if that happens. And I think it's possible we could get there soon. Less supply, low liquidity. A small injection of capital could bring us back to the arbitrage point, which kind of kicks off the cycle again, where people start selling their HSIs to Icosa. There's more yield for stakers, so people are more inclined to get more Icosa and more Hedron and stake that to get the yield. So it's I think we're still see the kind of equilibrium of the whole ecosystem. I think we're getting into that phase where we're going to hit it soon.
Very cool.
So the next topic then is WAATSA. So I used to tweet every day because people were burning WAATSAs every day. Since Pulse, there was a big flurry of burning after the PulseChain launch, and then it's kind of slowed down. So now I only tweet the kind of big days that when I see them. But you can track the daily burning on the WAATSA page on HEX model. So this is just showing the overall stats. So we see 6% of the NFTs have been burned, and then 9% of the value of the points, which were almost at 2 million points and 19 million left. Which I'm surprised at 1 year in that we're already through 10% of the value.
Yeah, imagine if we were, I don't know, do you think in a bull market they would just be flying by even more than we saw in the initial phase?
Yeah, so my guess is that when we get to like a break even or a 1x or a 2x on the NFT for what people put in, a lot of wallets have more than one NFT, so they may do a staking ladder, almost like a staking ladder, like burn one every year or burn one every 2 years, or so. But I think we'll only see that when we're above the 1x or 2x, or they're in profit. So it'll be interesting. So then after a year or two, we can see the pattern of, well, this wallet is they're burning they have a burning ladder of NFTs. So then we can kind of say, well, they're going to be burnt out by this time, and we can make forecasts like that. But so far, it's just been kind of people rage quitting, I think. Before the PulseChain launch is rage quitting because they they want to get out of WAATSA or Icosa, and now we see some behavior where people are picking one chain over the other maybe, and just getting rid of all of their NFTs on Ethereum or on PulseChain, vice versa. So yes, this is just the points reduction in the pool, and we see the opposite of the burn points. So yeah, we're over 2 million points burned on this graph. Yeah, so this should match up here, but it doesn't. That's one. So that's one data error there, maybe. So then this is the burning by day on Ethereum. So we saw, PulseChain launched around here, which was the 11th or 12th of May. So we saw, a lot of people burning on Ethereum, and then it went quiet for a while, and we had this kind of one day of, somebody rage quitting on Ethereum, and then a few later on here in recent times. And just to compare that to the PulseChain, we have kind of a similar, so same burning on both chains on this particular day. And we see a lot here on Ethereum and less here on PulseChain. So yeah, interesting to compare the two chains. And then the overall stats on PulseChain, 7% NFTs burned and 9% of the value. And that is the end of this. Yep.
I was going to ask, so more people have been burning them on Ethereum versus PulseChain?
So overall, let's see the numbers. So we have, 1.9 million points burned on Ethereum versus a bit less on PulseChain. So more values, slightly more been burned on Ethereum, and then the total number, so 1,300 on Ethereum, and so actually, yeah, so more NFTs have been burned on PulseChain, but smaller value. If that makes sense.
Gotcha.
But looking at this, so this graph and this one, so it'll be interesting to look at the individual wallets. So it looks like there's like a lot of these kind of correlate. Like we have this big spike here, and then we have a lot of burning here at the start. So kind of curious if these are the same wallets burning on both chains or not.
Very interesting stats. Yeah. And then maybe one day we'll get the monkey pictures. One day. Sounds like maybe Hedron V2 was we're waiting around for that.
Yeah, so Hedron V2, it's going to be very interesting, yeah.
Yeah, what was you said you caught the talk with Sloth and Alex the other day. What was your initial reaction, and how do you think it's going to, I guess, what are some of the things you're excited about and some of the questions you have about it?
Yeah, so I caught that stream. I kind of had on the background, so I didn't dig too much into the details, but it's going to be interesting about this thing we discussed earlier about the prices on both chains and unifying the chains. So it seems in the new contract that eHedron and pHedron and eIcosa and pIcosa will be treated equivalent in the auctions, that you can maybe use both to bid on the auctions on either chain. So that kind of pushes then the price. So at the moment, like eHedron is less than the price of pHedron. So that means that you could, buy eHedron and use that in the auctions to get, better value. So then that pushes the price of eHedron up towards the price of pHedron. And that it could be interesting because then we could hit the arbitrage point on eIcosa or eHedron and not hit the arbitrage point on the P side, PulseChain side. So it creates interesting dynamics then where we could have incentives to sell HSIs on the Ethereum side, but not on the PulseChain side. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that works. Maybe I have some of the details wrong, and I guess some things are going to change as well because it's just being developed, has to be tested, and there could be new ideas. For me, making a stat side is going to be interesting as well because, at the moment, the HEX model is showing a lot of the Ethereum stats. Going to add the PulseChain stats very soon. And then when we add this new V2 of Hedron Icosa, it's going to be even more analysis and more contracts to kind of look at and look for correlations. And yeah, we'll have to see if there's a unity in the community or a divide in the community where some people stick with the old one and not move to the new one. Do we get 50-50 of the community going to each one, or does all the community move to the new one? So that will be interesting to watch if we have Icosa Hedron Classic and Icosa Hedron V2.
Yeah, forget EHEX and PHEX. It's the Hedron original Hedron Classic versus Hedron V2. And why? I guess if you were to make a case to why you would want to stick, or why people in the community would want to stick with the original one versus the new one, is there if you could make a case for either one being better, or better for price, or I know those differences and supposed to be changes for the upside, changes for the better for V2, but how would you make a case for either one? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, so I think there'll be incentives to move to the new one for sure. But then the old one, maybe there's reasons that people don't want to mint their new coins for tax purposes, or they have their stakes on hardware wallets and they don't have access to them right away. So there's all these, kind of other things that not necessarily that they want to stick with the old one, but it's just difficult for them to make the move to the new one.
Is that reducing supply participants? Is there any fundamentals there for the new one if a lot of people don't migrate?
I'm not sure there's advantages if people stay or don't move, but I think the incentive could be to equalize the E-Hedron and P-Hedron on both chains, which is going to bring the prices close together, which then is interesting because that almost forces EX and PX to be kind of, the E-Hedron could force EHEX to also increase. Now, if you imagine PulseChain increases, then PX increases, then P-Hedron moves with PHEX, then P-Hedron pulls up E-Hedron, and then E-Hedron pushes up EHEX. So it could unify the whole RH ecosystem just by this new contract. I would imagine that happening.
After I heard Alex and Sloth talk about it, one thought that came to mind, I did a poll on Twitter and talked about it a little bit too on stream with him, was, will Richard do HEX V2, which does, this kind of cross-chain collaboration to make, EHEX abandon proof and stuff like that, which seems like it's with the Hedron side, it's one of those that's, like you said, it kind of, both of them are more unified and pulling each other up and stuff. But that's an interesting point. So you're saying that even a derivative could have some influence on the asset like HEX, in this case being the cross-chain pieces to it.
Yeah, like I remember when Hedron launched and Icosa launched, and there was all of this kind of FUD, and people were afraid that maybe Hedron's going to break HEX, and then of course people who study the mechanics of it can see that it could be there's a lot of pros for it. And for example, there's these arbitrage points where you can buy HEX off the market and then sell it to the Icosa contract to get Icosa. So yeah, the derivative. So if the derivative could be the linking thing between EX and PX, I think, and it could pull EX up with PX just by that link between the E-Hedron to P-Hedron and those being treated equally in the auctions.
Oh, very interesting. I want to get to a couple questions here. Thank you for the slides, by the way. Super, super good data, of course. And then we surfed over, I put it in the chat too, hexmodel.com if anyone wants to check it out. A couple people in chat were asking about that, how to look at WAATSA data, hexmodel.com. I dropped it there earlier. Very easy to type in your browser if you want to go there. But I want to get to a couple questions that I've been putting off because I don't want to interrupt the presentation. Let's see. Double down on 11. What's going to happen to my WAATSA NFTs? I'm not sure. maybe we could put this in context of Hedron V2. Did you remember him saying anything that's going to change with WAATSAs other than you could just migrate to the new WAATSAs?
That's a good question, and I think it's kind of hard to think about right now because it's not even launched or it's not even in audit. So I think it's totally up for debate or up for thought by the developers. So I think those kind of edge cases, I don't. I'm sure Alex has maybe thought about them, but I didn't see it mentioned specifically, or I wouldn't put too much weight on what's released right now on the NFTs. The good thing is they're accumulating yield every day, so it's just and we're going to get the monkey pictures one day. So
one day monkey pics.
Just hold them and don't burn them is the secret.
Jim Mars, when sloth finishes school because then you get 2-hour feelings. I may be slow, but I'm concise. Shout out to Jim. He has some good sloth nuance and insight there. So Majid. Pedro says credit card debt. This is going to crash market. Any spidey senses about the broader macros, or do you ever pay attention to any of that stuff?
No, I don't pay much attention, but I did see on Twitter that Michael Burry from The Big Short has put in a short on some market, and he hasn't done that since the crash in 2008. So, that's kind of raising some spidey senses right there. Maybe he's onto something.
Yeah, Michael Burry, I did hear that came out. So either he's very wrong or right, I guess. I'm not sure. I don't know. Like when you think about stuff like that too, are you, as someone who I speculate is trying to accumulate and build more capital. When you hear stuff like that, is it one of those? Do you see it as opportunity, or do you see it as, are you long term or short term thinking on that? Because if market goes down, crypto goes down another leg, all this stuff. Boy, those prices. If we ever go back, if cycle ever goes back around and we hit 2 trillion market cap, all that stuff, Bitcoin's 100K, all the stuff all the people are talking about. You could make a case that all the coins, HEX, PulseChain, all the stuff could too. We have no idea, pure speculation, but it could bring all of crypto up as well. When you hear news like that, how does it? Are you seeing it as opportunity? Or are you seeing it as, gosh, I'm tired of this thing going down. I actually prefer it to go up now. It's been 2 or 3 years. How do you think about that?
Yeah, so one thing we're thinking about is correlation is not causation. So it's very easy to link, traditional markets to crypto markets and say, well, this caused this, X caused Y, and then Y caused Z in the crypto market. But the way I see it is, we have the 4-year cycle in Bitcoin, and that's kind of worked like clockwork in the past. We have the halving coming up, I think, in sometime next year, maybe 6 to 9 months. And historically, that's kind of kicked off the new bull market. So I think crypto, in a way, works independently. And the counter argument is that, a lot of the fresh capital comes from the other markets, and if we don't have that, then maybe we won't have a bull market. But so far, the 4-year cycle has been working, so I don't kind of worry too much about the external forces on the crypto market in general.
Gotcha.
That could be ignorance of what's going on in those markets. Maybe if you know more about them, maybe it's easier to see the causations. But I would just kind of warn, the correlation is not the causation. It's very easy to tie things. Well, this caused this, but actually it's kind of coincidence or something else caused those two things, and they seem to be correlated then.
Yeah. I think nobody knows. At the end of the day, nobody knows. There's just better theories or things that people go with based on their incentives or look at history, but it's kind of, nobody knows. There's just better theories than others, I guess, sometimes, or ones that you can make rhyme more with history. Chaz says, we feel diluted if Alex plan does go through. I first read this, I was thinking diluted. Is there any dilution for the migration of V2?
I don't think so. I think when you move to the new V2, my understanding is that you kind of forfeit or burn your old V1 coins tokens. So that means that the value should just migrate directly, but it should split equally. There'll be no dilution, I think, but maybe there'll be I think most community will take the V2 on board, because I think I'm expecting it'll be designed well, and it'll be there might be comparisons to the EX versus PX, but it's kind of slightly different at the same time as well.
And this question to a new reorganization of Icosa Hedron. So I can't trying to picture this as well. So it's going to be one multi-chain contract called Icosa Hedron, and it's going to have different there's going to be different token or new token contracts as well. Do you know how this technically is going to come about?
My understanding is that this is very revolutionary in the crypto space in general. So it's very exciting to see it being done in the HEX or Hedron ecosystem first, and it could be difficult to fully develop it and audit everything. So I think we've loads of time to get our heads around it.
Yeah, don't know how
my guess. And overall, I think it's a pro for the tokens in general.
Alex is pretty cool and tends to have good judgment, so I'm on board as well. PulseX. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's an IQ test, the Icosa Hedron system in general. So it's just about the test is just going to get harder now with the new V2. It's going to we're going to need a lot more lectures and streams from yourself and the other streamers.
I've been waiting on it. I'm ready for new Hedron streams. I know it's been quiet for a while. Hasn't been a whole lot of interesting stuff to talk about, especially when price keeps going down, and we can't dare speculate on the ups and downs of what's going on. But I'm ready, definitely ready to have you, GIF, Sloth, Blue Bum, all you guys back on for more Icosa streams, because very good products, very cool stuff going on here. For Heathead rather than Hedronians. I've heard Heathead. Interesting. Heatheadians, maybe. Warfield, is there a UI to track APR on WAATSA and Icosa? Do you have that on HEX model?
So some of the stats are there. There's room for improvements so the yield by day and the total yield is there, and there'll be more updates coming. And also shout out to the HEX Model Pro, where you can subscribe, and there'll be extra features there as well to kind of track your portfolio and your APRs on your NFTs and things like that.
Check out HEX Model Pro if you're interested. HEXModel.com. Very cool stuff. Godfather J6. Everyone, I'm doing well. At least can't speak for everyone, but I'm doing well. Appreciate it. Get your bags ready, guys. #one day. Seeing you ain't lying. You could be correct. Facts. #facts on that. Dev Huey, thanks again for coming on. It's great to see you. What are you working on? Is there you working on anything now, or what do you want to take us out on? Any final thoughts?
Yes, so things I'm hoping to add some of the PulseChain stats to the website. Also interested to look into the liquidity pools to get a better understanding of that, and track the movements through the liquidity as opposed to just looking at staking and things like that. And then also, so my origin story of doing all this analysis was I was interested in tracking the HEX wallets and the OA wallets and the HEX audit. So I'm revisiting that as well. Now that the SEC case is ongoing and the documentary is out, and I know
you're looking for a job.
No, I just think Dipcatcher's done some analysis and he's published some stuff on Twitter. So I think it's good that this stuff is accessible. And, Gunther did the first audit. Other people have done other audits since. Dipcatcher has done a really good one. And then I think I can add some more visuals to make it more easier to interpret or track it in real time or daily and have that live. I think that could be useful to have on hexmodel.com. So that's why it's called Hex Model, because it's modeling these things in Hex and keeping track of everything. So the next steps are to add more data on Hex, and the OA analysis is one, and maybe tracking individual wallets and things like that. So yeah, more updates to come in future.
Shout out Dipcatcher. We love Dipcatcher having on the show. He's been tweeting like a maniac as far as the awesome research and just transparency and stuff. He's been looking at all kinds of interesting stuff. I had him on here for the PulseChain war chest, and we went through that too. Super, super cool. And yeah, LP stuff. I would definitely be interested in that. I think on Fatty, have you used Fatty? Have you seen how it tracks on their wallet? It tracks different LP positions and stuff.
I haven't seen the LP positions, but I've seen the portfolio. Yeah, it's a really cool website as well. And yeah, shout out to Dipcatcher as well. He did some analysis on the PDI FUD as well. That the people thought that PDI was being minted out of thin air, and I think he resolved that it was actually in the contract all along. That there's arbitrage there between PDI and the other stable coins. So that was deep forensics. So very cool.
Follow Tanto Nomini if you're interested in some very cool rabbit holes he goes down and blockchain stuff he talks about. Yeah, the PDI stuff has been interesting lately too. Dev Huey, where can people find your stuff? Hexmodel.com. You on Twitter? Are you on YouTube? OnlyFans? Where are you at?
Hexmodel.com and Dev_Huey on Twitter. Or is there an underscore? Let me check.
There is, yes. Yes, I checked it earlier when I made the thumbnail. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Dev_Huey on Twitter for some updates, and then hexmodel.com for all the stats, and hopefully new stats coming as well in future.
Perfect. Thanks for coming on again, man. Great to get back with you, go over these stats. Really appreciate your time you've been putting into this. Another great asset to the community, having all this information available. We appreciate your hard work for sure. Yeah,
it was really fun discussion. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for all the comments and questions in the chat as well. Yeah, thanks, chat. You got a lot of good questions today. Appreciate it. Everyone, we'll be back on tomorrow. Access Live, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. If you're interested in seeing some TA updates, and otherwise should be a good stream. Killing it this week. Lots of good streams this week. I did my highest stakes review on Sunday after I saw it Saturday, and then I did a few other streams I thought were pretty cool too. So tomorrow, Access Live. Friday, we'll see. Been streaming almost every day. Gotta keep the bear market blues away, and that's all we got for you. Scivive and 5555. We are out.